The gates of Falcon. Tower slammed shut behind a young woman running barefoot through the rain, clutching a torn resignation letter, while inside a penthouse office 40 floors above, billionaire. Kelvin Osayande watched the security footage on his phone and whispered, "Bring her back to me, whatever it costs." Nobody in Lagos knew why the richest man in Nigeria would chase after his own driver in the middle of a storm. And by the time this story ends, you will understand that love does not care about bank accounts, only about hearts brave enough to open. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in stories that remind us love can find anyone, anywhere, please like this video, drop a comment below, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Whispering Tales Stories so you never miss what happens next. Farida Balogun had never dreamed of driving anyone, let alone a billionaire. 3 years earlier, she had been a promising accounting graduate from the University of Ibadan, full of plans and a scholarship offer to study abroad. But when her father's small transport business collapsed under unpaid loans and her mother fell ill with a kidney condition that swallowed every naira the family had, Farida folded her dreams into a drawer and picked up whatever work she could find. She learned to drive from her uncle, a taximan in Ojoda, and within 2 years she had built a quiet reputation as one of the most careful, disciplined drivers in Lagos. When the position opened at Falcon Group for a personal driver to the CEO, she almost did not apply, certain a woman would never be considered. She was wrong. Kelvin Osayande, 34 years, old and already a legend in Nigerian business circles for turning his father's failing logistics company into a billion-dollar empire, had insisted on hiring based on skill alone, not gender, not connections. Farida got the job, and with it, a small room in the staff quarters behind the mansion, a modest salary that finally allowed her to pay for her mother's dialysis, and a front-row seat to a world she never imagined she would touch. At first, Kelvin barely noticed her beyond the rearview mirror. He was a man consumed by work, waking at 5, sealing deals before sunrise, attending board meetings that stretched into midnight strategy calls. His life moved with the coldness of spreadsheets and quarterly targets, a coldness that had settled into him since his father's death and the collapse of an engagement that had taught him people rarely loved him for himself. But something about Farida's silence unsettled that coldness. She never gossiped like his previous drivers, never tried to impress him with flattery, never once complained even when he kept her waiting for hours outside client offices. One rainy evening, when the car broke down on the 3rd mainland, Bridge and his security team panicked over the delay to an important dinner. Farida calmly stepped out into the rain, opened the hood herself, and fixed a loose wire with nothing but a hairpin and steady hands, refusing his umbrella so his suit would stay dry. Kelvin sat in stunned silence, watching a woman soaked to the bone solve a problem his highly paid engineers would have called a mechanic for, and something inside him shifted permanently that night. He began finding reasons to talk to her. He asked about her family and she answered honestly, telling him about her mother's illness without asking for pity, only stating facts the way she stated everything else with quiet dignity. He learned she had graduated top of her class before life forced her hand. He learned she still solved accounting puzzles for fun on her phone during her breaks, unaware that the numbers she scribbled on scraps of paper were more elegant than reports his own finance department produced. Slowly, admiration crept into something warmer. Though Kelvin fought it fiercely, he told himself it was inappropriate, that a man in his position could not fall for his own driver without the whole of Lagos society mocking him, without his mother fainting from shock, without his business partners questioning his judgment. Yet every morning he found himself looking forward to the 20-minute drive to his office more than any of his million-dollar meetings. Farida fought her feelings even harder. She had seen what happened to women who dared to dream above their station, how quickly they became jokes, scandal headlines, cautionary tales whispered in market stalls. She reminded herself daily that Kelvin belonged to a different universe, one where women wore imported gowns and carried surnames that opened doors, not women who wiped engine grease from calloused palms. But then there were moments that betrayed her resolve. Like the afternoon he canceled an important meeting just to personally drive her mother to a better hospital when her kidney condition worsened suddenly, sitting beside Farida in the waiting room until 3 a.m., holding her hand without a single word. simply present in a way no wealthy man was supposed to be for his staff. Word began to spread within Falcon Tower, first as rumors among jealous staff, then as concern among Kelvin's family, who saw the driver as a threat to alliances they had carefully built for years. His mother, a formidable woman named Beatrice Osayande, who had already selected a senator's daughter as the ideal match for her son, summoned Farida to the family estate under the pretense of a simple errand. What followed was a humiliation Farida would never forget. Beatrice offered her an envelope thick with cash, telling her plainly to resign, quietly and disappear, from her son's life before she embarrassed herself and the family further. Farida, her hands trembling with anger and heartbreak, refused the money but understood the message clearly. She did not belong, and no love, however real, would be allowed to survive against generations of pride and status. That night she wrote her resignation letter, packed the few belongings she had accumulated in the staff quarters, and left before dawn, choosing to protect her dignity rather than fight a battle she believed she could never win. She did not tell Kelvin why. She simply vanished, catching an overnight bus back to Ibadan, back to her mother's modest room, back to a life that felt smaller now that she had glimpsed something larger. Kelvin discovered her absence the following morning when a new driver appeared in her place, and the panic that seized him revealed to everyone, including himself, exactly how deep his feelings had grown. He confronted his mother, who admitted everything without apology, believing she had saved her son from a mistake. For the first time in his adult life, Kelvin raised his voice at Beatrice, declaring that he would rather lose the family name than lose the one person who had ever loved him without wanting anything from his wallet. He tracked down Farida's address through his security team and drove 3 hours to Ibadan himself, without bodyguards, without an entourage, arriving at her family's modest compound in the rain, just as this story began. He did not come with jewelry or promises of luxury. He came with nothing but the truth, standing outside her gate soaked to the skin, telling her through the rusted iron bars that money had never once made him feel. The way her silence, her strength, and her stubborn kindness had made him feel every single day for the past year. Farida's mother, weak but alert from her hospital bed nearby, overheard the exchange and called out for her daughter to stop being foolish, enough to reject a man who clearly had chosen love over legacy. Farida opened the gate. What followed was not a fairy tale free of consequence, because real love rarely is. Kelvin returned to Lagos and faced his mother directly, informing her that Farida would return not as a driver, but as his partner, and that any member of the family, unwilling to accept her with respect, would no longer have a place at his table. Beatrice resisted for weeks, cold and distant, until she witnessed firsthand how Farida handled a crisis at the company picnic, calmly organizing evacuation when a small fire broke out in the kitchen tent, saving 3 children from smoke. Inhalation with the same steady hands that once fixed a stalled engine in the rain. Watching her, Beatrice finally understood what her son had seen all along, that true worth had nothing to do with surname or wealth, and everything to do with character forged through hardship. Farida's mother received the finest medical care Falcon Group could provide, fully recovering within months, and Farida herself was quietly enrolled in an executive finance program at Kelvin's insistence, not as a favor, but as recognition of a mind that had been overlooked for far too long. The wedding that followed months later was modest by Osayande family standards, held in a garden rather than a ballroom, attended by market women and university friends alongside business tycoons. A blending of two worlds neither had expected to merge so gracefully. If this story touched your heart even a little, if you found yourself hoping for Farida and Kelvin with every passing scene, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment sharing which part moved you most, and share it with someone who still believes love can rewrite the rules society tries to enforce. Before we close this chapter, we have a special request. Comment the word kindness below if you believe true love sees the heart before it sees the bank account, and let us know if you would like to see what happens next in the lives of Kelvin and Farida. In the end, what began as a story of a billionaire and his driver became something far greater, a reminder that dignity cannot be bought, that love does not check resumes, and that sometimes the very people society teaches us to overlook are the ones capable of teaching us how to truly see